Hey guys, Joe here, Back to the Word with the November 2024 Back to the Word Book Brief. This is a new segment video I want to start doing on my channel where every 2 months or so I talk through a few books that are on my reading list, recent arrivals from publishers, as well as upcoming releases in the Christian book world that I'm personally excited about. If you have ideas for future videos or questions, let me know in the comments below. Everything's timestamped based on those 3 headings, and I hope you enjoy me just chatting about the books that are in my life that just arrived and I'm excited about that are coming out real soon. I've put helpful links in the descriptions for below of this video for things that you might want to pay attention to or check out based on the content I'm talking about. So on my reading list, these can be books that I either just completed, ones that I'm currently reading, or ones that I'm planning to read in the very near future. The first one I want to highlight is Reading the Psalms as Scripture by James M. Hamilton Jr. and Matthew D'Amico. I just recently finished this read. I got an advance copy from the publisher. It was released on November 13th, 2024. So just recently came out from Lexham Press. Really great book. I've already done a review of this and a deep dive into its chapter contents on my channel, so I'll link that below in the description. For those who want the short overview, Dr. James M. Hamilton is a professor of biblical theology at the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. He's done an amazing 2 volumes on the Psalms for Lexham Press. These came out in 2021, part of the Evangelical Biblical Theology Commentary series. Excellent work. I've spent good time in this. Right after he finished this, he released to those who follow some of his content that Lexham Press had asked him to do a book on how to better read, understand, and interpret the Psalms, but also the organization of the Psalter, which Dr. Hamilton is really great at. And in a 130-page volume, here it is, an excellent book. You don't have to have people in your church buy all 2 volumes. They can get this, helpfully understand reading the Psalms in a class for your sermon series. Check more out on the videos I've already done on my channel, but I just finished this read and it was excellent. So second one that I'm currently halfway through is Religionless Christianity, God's Answer to Evil. That's quite a mouthful. But this one comes from Eric Metaxas, and it is a sequel to his first book he wrote, Letter to the American Church. If you guys don't know, Eric Metaxas wrote a really famous biography on Dietrich Bonhoeffer, pastor during the time when Nazis took over Germany and fought against those things. He sounded the alarm for the German church early and urged them to do something against Nazism, and it just did not happen. And so this book really chronicles Bonhoeffer's attempts and his church era, and it applies it to the church today. And if he was writing a letter to the American church, what would he say to the church today in our political society and the things going on in our culture and world to warn us about what the church must do to bring faith into the public sphere and to bring faith and live it out in all areas of our lives. Bonhoeffer gets to the end of his life. He shares with a friend as he's about ready to die for his faith that maybe what the German church needed to actually overcome Nazism, Hitler, and the power that was going on in Germany at the time was a religionless Christianity. So that's the ending chapter of this book, and it's the subject of this book as Metaxas walks through what Bonhoeffer meant by that statement. And I'm really enjoying this. It's a work of kind of historical theology. It's a work of practical theology and kind of cultural theology. And so I'm really enjoying the read and look forward to doing a review once I finish. Next up, recent arrivals. These are things that graciously publishers have either sent me or I have sought and tried to seek out, pre-ordered, and got from them. And so first up, I just want to thank IVP Academic for sending me a copy of On Classical Trinitarianism, Retrieving the Nicene Doctrine of the Triune God. I follow Matthew Barrett from Midwestern Seminary, and I've been tracking this book for a while. It's a little over 700 pages, and I'm super excited to read this volume and get this work from IVP Academic. It was released on October 1st of 2024. It's an ecumenical work, so it brings together Protestant authors, Eastern Orthodox authors, and Roman Catholic authors to show the commonality we have in believing in the Christian triune God. It's also partially put together for the 1700th anniversary of the Council of Nicaea, from which we get the Nicene Creed, which deals with Trinitarianism. So I'm planning to read through this 700 plus page volume in 2025. I'm going to read through one article a week. So there are 40 articles in here. I'm planning to tackle one of those articles per week, which with 52 weeks in a year means I should be finishing around October or so in 2025 and tackling it as a fun reading project to learn more about the Nicene Council, Nicene Trinitarianism, and those sorts of things. So that is an exciting reading project, and I'm thankful for the volume that Matthew Barrett edited and the people who have contributed to it. Next up, recent arrival from publishers is Daily Doctrine by Kevin DeYoung, a one-year guide to systematic theology. I listened to almost every episode of Kevin DeYoung's Life and Books and Everything podcast. If you don't, you're missing out. So he's a PCA pastor, theologian, and teacher in RTS Seminary. And so Dr. Kevin DeYoung, or Reverend Kevin DeYoung, has been talking about this book he's been working on for a couple years now. It is now out from Crossway as of October 2024, and it's my devotional read for 2025. You can use this as a reference work. He has talked about it as a baby Burkhoff or a tiny Turretin. But it's also something you can read throughout the year, just as it says a one-year devotional. So reference tool, or read it over the course of a year. Excellent worth, bite-sized systematic theology, categories, teachings. What does this definition mean? What does this word mean? What's this discipline all about? It's all in here. Exciting resource from Crossway Books. And then the third one I want to talk about in this video came from B&H Academic, Proclaiming the Triune God. So another Trinitarian resource here, but this one specifically shorter, and the Doctrine of the Trinity in the Life of the Church. So maybe that huge book on Trinitarian theology is a little too thick for you. This is an excellent work for pastors and ministry leaders. So really, it's a work by Matthew Barrett, Ronnie Kurtz, Samuel G. Parkinson, and Joseph Lanier. It brings together sermons and works them into how do you focus on the Christian triune God and bring that into worship, into your speaking as a pastor, as a theologian, as someone in the church, and specifically for the life of the church. So these are definitely adapted from a series of sermons, and I'm excited to get in and read more of this volume that's specifically how do we proclaim and preach and speak about the Christian triune God in the church. And so I think it'll be excellent to pair this with this bigger volume, because there is crossover. So Matthew Barrett was part of this and this, and so I'm excited to make it through both in the near future. All right, we're to the third section, upcoming releases that I'm personally excited about. I'm getting this video out a little later in November than I had planned, but first up is a book that I was going to talk about, but is already released. I got an advanced copy. It is out as of November 12th, is Light, Unapproachable, Divine Incomprehensibility. Boy, isn't that a mouthful. And The Task of Theology by Dr. Ronnie Kurtz. This book is tackling, at some point, if you're a pastor, theologian, someone who's thought about your faith, the Bible talks about God as we can't even fully fathom or comprehend him. Like, we can't even comprehend him or even adequately describe him. And Dr. Kurtz is getting into those discussions, talking about what the church has believed and how incomprehensibility, the fact that we can't comprehend God, and ineffability, the fact that we can't describe him accurately with words, what that means for our task as theologians and doing theology, for studying God and all things in relation to God. And so I'm excited for the practical side of this work. I'm about halfway through and have been really enjoying it. If you don't know Dr. Kurtz, he graduated with his doctorate from Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. He's done a lot of things with Dr. Matthew Barrett. And he's also published some other books. One of his first books that I know of in 2022 was No Shadow of Turning, where he talked about God's immutability, the fact that God does not change. And the fact that he does not change, some people say, well, then how can he have a relationship with creatures, with those who do experience change? And he talks about in his book, the economy of redemption, the incarnation, how God condescends, and the fact that he does not change, but then he can actually relate to us as human beings. And then also his 2022 book with B&H was Fruitful Theology. This is a great book on the fact that how the life of the mind leads to the life of the soul. Some people study theology and they just seem to be crabby and combative. And his point with this book is to show that a fruitful study of looking at the beauty of God and what he says about himself and scripture should cause us to grow in the fruit of the Spirit. So this is an excellent book on that. And so Dr. Kurtz in this book is coming back to some of those divine attributes of God, and he's sharing how those actually allow us to do the task of theology and enhance us doing the task of theology. So this book is how God is incomprehensible, but he actually has allowed us to, by condescending to us, has allowed us to apprehend who he is and given us descriptions from him as he communicates with us, his creatures, and he talks about what that means for the task of theology. So, deeper read here, but Dr. Kurtz is a great writer, and I fully recommend any of those three works if you're curious. The last book I want to talk about is one that comes with a caution statement, is We Who Wrestle with God, Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. You see the cover right there. I'll put in the video. Not everything I read I would recommend to everyone. And this is one of those books that I'm personally curious about, but I'm not fully recommending to everyone. Dr. Jordan B. Peterson is not a Christian. He's a psychologist that did practice for years in Toronto, Canada. He does a lot of conservative news media things with Daily Wire. And he's been traveling around for quite a while doing kind of philosopher type of things, studying biblical narrative. He did lectures on Genesis. He's done lectures across the country, across the globe on Exodus, releasing a Daily Wire special on Exodus, really interesting conversations. And he's really interested in philosophy and how those types of things speak to bigger principles even beyond the Christian triune God. And so I know that I'm not going to agree with everything in the book, maybe not even half of the things in the book, but he explores the biblical world. He's connected to friends who are Christian or do believe in the Christian God. Think about Os Guinness, who is a Jew, as well as Jonathan Pageau's Eastern Orthodox. And so he has people around him who are pointing him to belief in God specifically, and the Christian God and the Christian scriptures. And so I enjoy thinking through those things. And then as I read what Dr. Peterson's writing, how he relates it to life and philosophy and certain things, it encourages me to dig into my Bible and see what is actually true. And so when he was in a recent interview, he talked about how this book is the first of a trilogy that he is doing. And so this one covers really Genesis and Exodus and some other stories in the Old Testament. He's going to do a future one that involves some of the gospel content. And so I wanted to pick this book up and just see what it was all about. So looking forward to that book releasing. I believe it's November 19th. So with that, that's the end of this video content. Please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you want future videos like this or content on some of these books, which I will release as I get done reading them and processing them. I'm also going to do an upcoming video on Advent devotionals that I am tackling this year for November/December 2024. So stay tuned for that video, which will be releasing real soon. And as always, if you have questions about this content or insights, I would love to hear about them in the comments below. I love learning with you guys and just sharing about Jesus Christ, about the Bible, and good books. So with that, until next time, continue to read, treasure, follow the word. God bless, and I'll see you guys soon.